Good morning. It's Saturday. I'm in the office. You know what that means. The Saturday Morning Hustle Podcast. Today, we are out working the competition while they still sleep. A little bit of motivation, a little bit of practical information, and a lot of applying business opportunities to our personal lives as well. So recently, I had a discussion on my business podcast, the Golding Group Neo-Marketing Podcast. If you're into business and entrepreneurism, you definitely want to check out that podcast. But I had a discussion about change, opportunity, and success. And so I want to have that conversation with you today here on the Saturday Morning Hustle. We're going to talk about how that applies to business, how that applies to you if you're an entrepreneur, how it applies to you if you were a self-brand, and then how it applies to you if you in your personal life, your personal development. You can also take these ideas, these theories, these practices of how you do the most with the opportunities presented to you in order to create success for yourself. You can apply it to your job. You can apply it to running a business, a startup, a side hustle, your art career, your music career. You can apply this to anything that you're working on where you're pursuing success. So here we go. I'm going to give you a couple of quotes that chain together, and we're going to, again, discuss what it means for business and what it means for you personally. So let's start right at the top. Success comes from the management of change. I'll explain that. Success comes from the management of change. Change is an opportunity. These two things go together. And why it's important to talk about right now today is obviously 2020 and the first half of 2021, there were a lot of changes. First, because of COVID-19, because of the uncertainty around it, because it was affecting so many people, a lot of things changed. There were shutdowns, there were rules, there were all kinds of regulations, there were all kinds of things that affected everyone's personal life and their business life. So a lot of change that was forced upon all of us unexpectedly, a lot of change you really weren't prepared for, and it's no slight on you if you were not prepared for a global pandemic to shut down the U.S. economy and all the things that come with it. And everyone was affected in some way. Some people were affected more than others, depending on their job, their business, obviously kids in school, all kinds of things were affected by the change that was forced upon us by COVID-19 and our local, city, state, and federal governments, and ultimately the whole world's responses to that in order to try to have some sort of control over the pandemic. So change has been very front and center for all of us for the last 18 months, because now for the last 6 months, we've had a vaccine available. People are becoming vaccinated. You're seeing the numbers go way down on the COVID cases. They're still happening, but not at the level that they were. Now economies are reopening. And again, it's different in every city and state, no matter where you are. That's a different situation, but it's in a change state. It's in a flux. Things are changing on a regular basis, not consistently staying the same as you would expect, but changing as we drop mask mandates. We have increased ability to go places in larger groups, dining inside, all kinds of things like that. So change is important. Change happens. Change is good for your business if you manage it correctly. So that's what I said earlier about success comes from the management of change. So if the change is something massive like a global pandemic, or change is something as simple as you having a new competitor in your space, losing or gaining an employee, losing or gaining a client, any other items that happen within your business, through your business, that affect your business, affect the people in your business, affect your consumer, people's ability to do business with you. All of those things are change items. When that change happens, you can go backwards, you can fall off, you can shrink your business and lose the sale, or you can manage that change well and potentially turn negative change into positive change. And change isn't always negative. It can be positive. The change could be one less competitor in your space. The change could be an additional client or additional clients, or maybe something that brings a lot of new business to you or a lot of attention to your business, etc. All of these things, whether it's negative, losing a client, or positive, gaining the client, whether it is being beaten by your competition or gaining attention with the potential to create opportunity for yourself and your business, how you manage that, how you maximize positive benefits, how you mitigate negative benefits, how you react. And a lack of reaction is also a reaction, or at least a factor. But how you react to change, what you do with it. Do you panic or do you stay calm? Do you let a bit of change affect the big picture, your overall direction, or does it take something massive, like maybe a global pandemic, to create a pivot within your business? No matter what you're trying to achieve, no matter what kind of success you're trying to create, it's never a straight line. It's never exactly the way you laid it out. It's not you, it's everyone. It just happens. And the changes through the process, things that didn't work as well as expected, so you have to make a change. Things that work better than expected, you have to make a change. Follow that opportunity. The management of that opportunity is where success lies. So change is an opportunity. The management of that opportunity is where success comes about. So again, when you're running a business, when it comes to change, there are levels of change. There's adapt, there's adopt, and there's pivot. This is something else we've been talking about for the last 18 months on my business podcast, specifically for businesses, business models, being able to adapt, to being able to just make changes necessary in order to meet the requirements in front of you, depending on the situation. Keep moving, business as usual. That's adapting. Adopting are adding new things to the mix, adding new tools, adding new services, adding new things to your business because either some things went away and you weren't able to do them, or simply people are needing things in a different way because they can't go into a restaurant, because they can't go into a store, because they can't travel, because they can't do the things that they used to do previously. So you had to adopt new tools, new processes, new technology, etc., in order to continue on your business through that change. And then, of course, the biggest move you can ever make in business is a pivot. A pivot is a literal change of your business model. It is doing something very different than what you were previously doing or what the company was previously built to do. That's why pivots are a big deal. It's a big change. It's the biggest change you can have, and typically a pivot in business is not something you change back from. If you're going to make a pivot, if you're going to take essentially your old model, any audience you developed, any business processes that you developed, and throw them out the window and do something different, better utilization of your strengths, your organization, etc., because what you were attempting to do just wasn't going to be successful, that's a pivot. It's never intended to be pivoted back because, again, you lose everything that you built within the pivot. It's expensive for businesses to pivot and change and do things drastically different. That's why you start with adapt, you begin to adopt, and then you begin a conversation about pivot. Now, COVID made everyone pivot who needed to pivot within weeks or a month instead of within a year, which would be a typical standard process for a business. COVID changed all those rules, but now we're post-COVID. Too many people want to pivot back, and are going to potentially lose the opportunity that they created by managing the change that happened over the last year. Management of that change being successful means they should keep doing what they're doing. If their audience and their business partners are reacting well to it, you should keep doing it. If not, then you can pivot back. That's a whole lot of business concept all up in one. But the management of this change, how well you make your decisions, how informed you make your decisions. Are you emotional or are you being logistical? What will be best for the business overall, in the long run, in total? What does your audience pay attention to? What can be profitable? What can be beneficial? What is good for you? These are all the decisions you have to make on how you manage the change. So obviously when things are going well, when your business is growing and developing, you're creating profitability. And don't let people tell you that profit is a bad thing. Profit is an essential to business. You must make profit in a business on high times, because then you won't survive low times without it. Let me say that again. If you're not profitable on a regular basis and times are good, whether it's seasonal, whether it's opportunity, etc., you have to take that profit in. You have to build profit margin into what you do so that when times are slow, when sales are down, when the season is against you, you can survive that period and be viable into the next period. So keeping your business open and viable is the key. The key to that is being profitable. So you become profitable by continually growing your business. Growth is another aspect of change. Growth is change. You can't grow something. You can't be more profitable. You can't have a better, more solid, more survivable business if you're not growing, changing your business on a regular basis. Hopefully that's positive change that's moving you forward. Obviously, growth means that things are happening in a good way, more sales, more opportunities, and so you're growing your business that way. The other way to change your business, of course, is to go backwards, is to contract, is to do things in the wrong way. We want to manage that change by changing the change. I know that sounds a little bit of a back and forth there, but because change is happening in a negative way, you need to make the adjustments to that change so that you can go back to a positive way of developing your business, your relationships, the way the things are going. Now, how does this apply to you as a person? If you're not running a business, how does this apply to you in your personal growth, your personal development, or personal career path? Again, go back to the basic idea. Change is an opportunity. Where you work, what you're trying to do with yourself, if you can change, if you can get better, if you can grow, if you can develop more skills, if you can bring more to the table, if you have more to offer, if you have a broader range of background and experience, all of that change is your opportunity. How you manage that change is where success comes from. By focusing, by pushing forward the right change, the best change, by taking advantage when things are going your way. When you have opportunities in front of you, managing those opportunities well creates positive change, creates growth, creates more from your offering as a human being, as an employee, as a collaborator, as a communicator, as a citizen, as a part of a community, etc. The more that you bring to the table, the growth that you have is the more you bring to the table. The more that you bring, the more opportunities you can create for yourself, and you can create a snowball of success if you will manage that change correctly. So you can apply the same ideas of change will happen, happens to everyone, whether it's normal business process, normal career path, normal pursuit of yourself as a person. Then things will happen that are outside of your control. Global pandemics, the company that you work for isn't doing as well as you would expected. Your boss maybe doesn't get you the way that you would hope they would. All kinds of things that you don't have control over. You can still manage that change by focusing on what you can do, not focusing on what's out of your control and available to do, and continuing to grow and develop yourself within that change. Change is the opportunity. A great example would be a lot of businesses contracted during COVID-19. A lot of people were working from home. A lot of people had to change their job to do their job differently. If you were the person who easily could work from home, who was willing to get up early, to stay up late, to adjust your schedule, to adjust your work process, to change yourself and your approach to your job in order to fit the opportunity for your boss, for your employer, for your clients, then you presented yourself as someone who has value, who brings value to the organization, who brings value to the situation, who changes in a positive way. That's the opportunity. That opportunity is growth. That growth creates your next round of opportunity, which will be another level of change because you'll receive more attention, more responsibilities. Your ideas will get heard. You'll be part of things differently. You'll be changing or growing if you adapted and adopted to the situation of the last year. If you didn't, if the isolation was crippling to you, if you could not work in a virtual situation, if you were unwilling to be prepared for a Zoom presentation or for virtual work as you were when you go into the office and the boss can walk by your desk at any time and ask you a question or pull you into a meeting. If you were unwilling to prepare in that same way, you did not adjust to the change well, and ultimately you have the potential to let your boss or your collaborators or your coworkers find less value in you that changes their opinion of you and put you in a negative light. So managing change positively by reacting well when change is negative, trying to focus on what you can do, what you can control in order to move you back into a positive space. Positive change, you need to take advantage of that opportunity, and it's the management of the change, whether it's positive or negative, whether it's something going your way or going against you, but how you react to it, your willingness to change, to grow, to develop, to learn new things, to have a better attitude that is different than it was before because the situation has changed. Your ability, your flexibility to do this creates value in you in situations where you're employed, whether you're working with people and you are running a business. All of these things come down to your management of the change will allow you to maximize the opportunity. Maximization of opportunity, successful management of opportunity, taking full advantage of opportunity is success. The easiest definition of success, maximizing opportunity. Success, you can maximize opportunity by managing change. That's where we started. That's where we ended. Hope that makes sense to you, not only for your business, but in your personal life as well. Of course, if you want to hear more, if you agree, disagree, hit me up on social media. Let me know what you think. I appreciate any comments. Of course, I always appreciate the likes, the thumbs up, the heart, all that good stuff. You can leave a review. You can subscribe. You can tell a friend. You can help someone else who maybe needs to hear this episode. Someone who is overwhelmed by the change of the last 12 to 18 months. Maybe a little bit of attitude adjustment, a little bit of focus on how they can take negative change and turn it into positive change, how they can utilize this going forward might help them. So share this podcast with a friend. I would totally appreciate that. Of course, tell anyone you know about the Saturday Morning Hustle, the Saturday Morning Hustle podcast. It's on iTunes, Spotify, the Anchor app, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Podchaser. The full video is on YouTube. The behind the scenes is on Instagram TV. Social media, of course, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We have a brand new Saturday Morning Hustle Facebook. So if you're following me on Facebook, that's perfectly fine, but you can also follow the Saturday Morning Hustle, not having to be a personal friend of mine, just someone who is interested in hustle and grind on the weekend. So make sure all the links are in the description below. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you should share this episode and the Saturday Morning Hustle podcast. Leave a comment review. Get your Saturday Morning Hustle. Entrepreneur AF, this is a t-shirt I'm wearing today, and coffee and donuts, swag in the swag store. Again, links are in the description. Follow us on social media, hit us up, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and of course the new page on Facebook. And if you missed any of that, if you need the links, if you need a place to find the podcast, it is at SaturdayMorningHustle.com, of course. So manage your change, create opportunity, do well, continue to grow. See you next week.
Saturday Morning Hustle. Saturday Morning Hustle.